to be breaking down Greenland Migration. It's the sequel to the 2020 disaster film that literally nobody was asking for, but it does answer one burning question for all of us. What if you took a decent survival movie and stripped away every ounce of logic and pacing and necessity? Look, the first Greenland movie was a solid movie, and I honestly truly enjoyed it myself. It was a grounded take on the end of the world with a lot of logic and things that made sense that could happen, and it felt real or that it could be real. But Migration, it's a survival globe-trotting mess that forgets how common sense, physics, and geography works. It's honestly bad. It was completely unnecessary, and let's just go ahead and get into why this franchise should have just stayed in the bunker that they were in. So when I first heard about this film, I was hoping that it would work. I wanted to like it, of course, and I like Gerard Butler, especially when he's in grumpy dad mode. But this film was a disaster big. But this but this film in particular was a disaster bigger than the comet in the first film. Like, this film lacks any real logic and common sense. It left me consistently asking the question, why is this happening? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? The entire movie is just like a big why fest. Like, in the first film, all the stakes felt real. It felt like it could actually happen one day. But in this film, none of the stakes feel real. They all feel actually pretty manufactured, which they are. But to a degree, there is some logic there because 5 years ago, we know that they're in a bunker that's not going to last forever. They're in Greenland they don't have an unlimited amount of resources in Greenland. So it's logical to think that the bunker is not going to last forever with a large group of people being there at the time. But it's all of that logic that I'm using that brings to question why they didn't try to mix in some of this in the film, because while the bunker eventually fails and people have to leave it, this is part where a lot of the unnecessary things start to come in, because they have to get off this island and they have to get to this place in France that they keep hearing about, that where the crater is, that, may be better and where they can start new. And it's just like people brush it off as nothing, but we know this is failing. So it's just like you don't even care. And it's just, why do I care about this? And you don't even care about it. As they eventually start to try to make this trip to and across Europe, it starts to feel like a constant thing of what's going to happen next. Or you have a bunch of moments of, and then this happened. And all of these moments carry no emotional weight. They just kind of just trek along, trek along, trek along. Honestly, I just think this is a sequel that exists just to exist, or maybe because the people who made this new 2026 was going to be the year of the sequel. Hey, let's throw ours out there too. A lot of these sequels by the end of the year probably are going to be asked the question, why do they exist? But before we talk about how this family survives this little hellscape that they're in without even a chapped lip, if you love these deep dives that are going to save you from a lot of wasted time and money, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and keep coming back for more. Because we're honestly out here trying to make sure that all of your watch lists stay top tier. And with that, I'll give you a spoiler warning, because I am going to spoil part of the movie, but I'll try not to spoil too much of it just in case you want to go see it for yourself. But like I said, we start years later after the first film, probably about 5 years later. We're in this bunker. The bunker starts to fail, and inevitably we all have to leave this bunker because it's becoming unsustainable for everybody that's there. The movie introduces us to some new superstorms and things in the environment that are going to cause some chaotic situations, and on top of that, the tectonic plates are moving, so this causes earthquakes and all these stuff like that. So we get this weird rogue earthquake that cracks the bunker in half, and everybody has to leave, and there just so happen to be some lifeboats on the shore from this shipping, and there just happens to be a few lifeboats on shore because this ship crashed there before. But long story short, not everybody makes it onto the lifeboats. Actually, only one lifeboat that we see makes it, and that's, of course, the one with the Garrett family on it. And then everybody else is killed and swept away by this rogue wave, and they're taken out. So basically, everybody at the bunker that was there or on Greenland is now gone. And it was just a lot of these unnecessary deaths that kept happening in this movie. And not that people aren't going to die in a survival film, but you basically killed off everybody that was on Greenland without even giving them a chance to live. Maybe it's because they just doubted this whole plan to begin with. So let's just go ahead and just wipe them out of here. But that's basically the whole plot to the movie. This is gone and we have to go find a better place. So let's just go. We heard about this place and let's just go try to make it there. So they hit the road on this globe-trotting adventure, and it is less of adventure and more of us just watching this family and their friends just globe-trot across the Atlantic Ocean and England and other places without any real stake, should I say? And I guess I say that because it's just not exciting. It's actually pretty exhausting just watching them run into problem after problem after problem. Like, you would think in this story that the problem would be the world has failed. We have these rogue storms, and that's enough of a problem for us to have while we're trekking across the world to find a Eden of sorts. That no, we have to throw in other things like gunfights and raiders and all of these weird obstacles that we have to cross, on top of it already being hard to trek across a country with no gas 5 years later, and all of those situations like that. You have no food for real. Your son is on insulin, but that's never really explored, that where he gets sick or gets weak. And oh, by the way, we do learn that Gerard Butler's character in this story, he does develop some type of disease. We don't know if it's radiation poisoning, which it probably is, or if it's a cancer, or it's probably that too. But he's sick and he has weeks to live. So his whole mission in this movie is just to get his family to this Eden, period. That's his story, is to get them from point A to point B, and then I'll go out from there. But the midsection of this movie is where everything logically just starts to truly fall apart. We're trekking across Europe, and from Greenland, we've been through water, we've been through a desert-like, Mad Max-like landscape where there used to be a large body of water, but it's dried up. But yet everybody looks still pretty and Hollywood ready, like they've taken showers and we're good. How does that happen after days or weeks of just traveling? But on top of the other things that just make no sense in this movie, they encounter pocket civilizations throughout this story. And where have all these people been, and how did they survive with all the things that are going? Because there are a lot of people that survived, but they do make sure to take them out so that we don't ask the question later about where all these people came from in a world that they told us in the beginning of the film they assumed was 75% destroyed. So where are these people coming from? Or maybe it's only the northern part of the globe that made it through this disaster somewhat unscathed. Who knows? But honestly, a lot of the scenes in this movie feel like those side games that we play in video games that really don't need to be there. It just feel like, but that's how this movie felt. It just felt like a bunch of just side quests that were thrown into a story and were somehow going to make it all work and fit together. Because this entire movie was just one big side quest after side quest after side quest. By the time they finally reached their final destination, at least I did, you've probably checked out. They find their new home, but after all of that traveling and survival, the payoff just really isn't there. Honestly, when this movie ended, it made me feel like, and I started thinking like, God forbid there be a third movie. Like, what the hell would they do? But what would they do next? Especially since Gerard Butler won't be a part of it because his character is gone now. And this movie was just incredibly weak to me. But like I said, this movie had me shaking my head every 10 minutes with some of the logic or lack of logic that was in it. Like the travel logistics. Not that we really know how long they took to get across these continents. How the hell did they get across these continents as fast as they did in the era of the world as it is, with no power, no cars, so they're trekking along this country pretty quickly with a person that only had a few weeks to live, and he's coughing and choking up the entire movie. So it doesn't make me feel like you can move incredibly fast, but they get to this place right on time. And mentioning about him already having a disease, you've already gave him a terminal disease that's going to kill him. Why have him shot as well and speed up his death? He doesn't even get to enjoy the new home with his family. Like, he dies as soon as they make it there. And it just makes no sense. You already gave him a terminal illness, but now we're going to go ahead and shoot him and speed up his death that was already going to happen anyways. No, it just made no sense. Or maybe they just wanted to tell us that We're going to kill him off, and we're going to make sure that you know that he's killed off because there is not going to be a third movie. Maybe that's what it was. And also, in a movie about survival, nobody actually really seemed to be worried about surviving. They just seem to be worried about just how they get to the next place because their survival in this movie just didn't feel like a really high stake. It just seemed like, yeah, we know we're going to make it. We just have to do a few things along the way. And then, like I said, the necessity for this movie, maybe on because 2026, like I said earlier, is the year of the sequel. Is this movie necessary? Because outside of that, and probably many others to come, this movie was not necessary at all. But with that being said, I would say this film, in my opinion, is a 2.5 out of 5, a 5 out of 10 at its very best. It could be lower, but it definitely could not be higher. And that's my opinion. It's unneeded, it's illogical, and frankly, it's honestly a bit boring. It's a survival movie, honestly, where the only people that are struggling to survive is the audience that is watching it, because it's not that good, in my opinion. But yet again, from a awesome or pretty good trailer, we're fooled yet again that Greenland was going to be this epic globe-trotting adventure movie where the stakes were going to be high and this family was going to be, at risk of something. But the only thing they were at risk of was bringing an extra person along the way, which they did, and it didn't seem like they were too hesitant to do that either. Sometimes when the world ends in these movies, maybe that's just the best place to stop. And I'm going to stop there on that note. But let me know. But I have a question for you guys. What is a sequel that you guys found that totally ruined the vibe of the first movie? Drop a comment and let me know what you think about that. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a comment. And I will see you next time. Bye.